Hey everybody, my name is Clayton Delaney and I'm glad that you're here. If you haven't noticed already, I've gotten a haircut. If you notice my sideburns, they're not even. Paid $20 for the haircut. I don't know if it was worth it. I don't drink or smoke. Now I'm not against people who do. I don't really have a preference. I just don't. And here's why. When I was about 7 or 6 years old, I was at my aunt and my uncle's house, and they had a big wheel, and their house was big enough that you could ride the big wheel around inside. I think it was raining outside, so we couldn't ride it outside anyways, but they were letting me ride it around their house. So I rode this big wheel around their house for at least a good hour or two, and I got thirsty, so I went and I got a Dr. Pepper out of their fridge and drank some, and I thought, man, I could just keep riding, and then as I'm riding, I can just kind of stop in here like a pit stop and drink a little bit of my Dr. Pepper. And I remember placing it on this one specific coaster, and I thought, perfect, I know exactly where it's at. So I went and I drove around, and my uncle got up and he came into the living room and he was watching TV, and I came by, and without him noticing, I pulled up to my Dr. Pepper can, which seemed to be a little taller and a little bigger, but I just grabbed it and took a big swig of it, and it turns out that it was my uncle's Budweiser, and then I projectile vomited everywhere. So I don't drink alcohol. Specifically beer. I don't like the taste of it, and I definitely don't like the smell of it, but I was sick for the rest of the day. No more big wheel for Clayton. But I also don't smoke, and I don't use tobacco products, and the reason for that is my grandfather, my pawpaw, as I call him, my pawpaw used to buy boxes of, I don't know what kind of snuff it was, but dip, like chewing tobacco, and he would buy cases of these things, boxes of this chewing tobacco at a time, and he always had some on him. He doesn't dip anymore, and he hasn't dipped for a long time, but we would go fishing, and he would get out there about 8 o'clock, and no matter what was going on, you stayed out until lunchtime, and then you would come home with either your fish or your empty boat, and you would eat lunch. And he would let me drive while we were on the lake, and I remember him being at the front of the boat. He said, "Clayton, take it across the lake." And so I took it across the lake, and we were going pretty fast. He was telling me where to go, and I thought, man, I'm really close to the water. I bet I could lean over and touch the water while I'm driving. So as I'm leaning over, trying to touch the water, my grandfather spit his dip out, and it landed in my mouth. Again, I was sick as a dog. I projectile vomited. And these situations happened relatively close. I think I was 8 when the dip thing happened, but we didn't go back because you don't stop fishing until noon. So I basically threw up all over the lake until noon. I had pretty traumatic experiences with alcohol and tobacco. Do you smoke? Do you use tobacco? Do you drink? Or have you had traumatic experiences like I have? Every time I smell alcohol, that's exactly where I go back to, is a big wheel, thinking that something's Dr. Pepper. I once wanted to get a glass of tea, and my mom had made apple cider and put it in our tea pitcher, and I didn't know. No one had told me. And so I came in, and I poured this huge glass of apple cider. It was brown, or relatively the same color as tea. A huge swig of it, and it's apple cider. Again, I projectile vomited with that. Has that ever happened to you? You guys ever gone through anything like that? I'd love to hear about them. Write it in the comments or whatever. I'm Clayton Delaney. I'm glad that you're here, and we'll see you later.